Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Thank you so very much for taking your time to join me again week after week. Really appreciate it. If this is your very first time coming through, my name is Tubilihle Maduma. This is a platform that has been created in order to help us develop personally through sharing personal experiences and professional expertise. I'm so excited for those conversations. You guys do not have an idea, especially this one, because it is so calm and very relevant to me. And I think I say that all the time with every guest, but trust me, this one really is, because I know I have struggled with this thing in my entire life, throughout my entire life. She is a psychologist, obviously, but before I tell you all about her, I want you, if you love the work that we do in this platform, do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and of course, share. Today, sitting with me is a multi-award winner. She got the Nedbank Youth X Award in 2021, the Titanium Award in 2022 for Rising Stars in the healthcare. She is a psychologist in the public and private sector. She's also the founder and CEO of Journal Q. And of course, I'm pretty sure, as you all can see, Asanda Madi, a gorgeous, beautiful woman. Hi, sweetie.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Hi to all of the Garden Growth listeners as well, or viewers.
Yes. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy that I finally got you here. We both know it was a long road.
I know. I think it's like, you know that meme about making arrangements with friends as adults, where like, are you free on Wednesday? No, I'm not free. Okay, next week Tuesday, no, I'm not free. Then the next week Saturday, and so on and so forth. And you end up seeing people like every 3 months. I think it's like that, trying to make arrangements.
True. But I'm glad we finally got you here. It shows that you're a very busy woman. I mean, guys, did you hear the titles? Listen, just waiting to finally say Dr. Mang Mang. Soon, right?
Soon.
I'm so excited for that. I just want us to first talk about who Asanda is. You know, I may know you just as a psychologist and this amazing award winner, and of course the founder and CEO of Journal Q. But behind all of that, who is Asanda? Where did you grow up? And how was life growing up?
Okay, so I'm Asanda, as you already mentioned. I am from Mpumalanga. I'm from Ermelo, so I was born and bred in Ermelo, but I went to boarding school in Nelspruit. And I did boarding school there from, actually I don't need to say that because people can calculate my age.
Why do ladies always hide?
I always want to be older, so I'm actually a bit different, but I always want my clients and patients to think of me as older. Unless they're teenagers, that's fine. But with my older people, I think sometimes it's weird when they find out.
The pretty face is really working against you, hey?
People actually do think I'm older than I actually am, so I want to keep it like that.
I almost was tempted to ask how old, but okay.
Yes, I want people to think I'm older than I am. It just gives me more credibility.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I went to boarding school in Nelspruit. Then I came over this side to Wits. And I was at Wits from undergrad all the way through to my master's actually. And I've been in Joburg ever since. My childhood was sweet, for the most part. My dad passed away in 2004, but generally I think all throughout quite a sweet, okay-ish childhood. Just me, my mom, my brother, who's like 11 months younger than me, so we're basically like Irish twins essentially. But yeah, very close-knit family. I think after my dad's death, we sort of started expanding a bit more with regards to even other family relationships.
Yeah.
But very small family, very close nucleus, and that was it. I'm not sure what else you want to know.
Moving from Emelo, I know Emelo is a very small town, to Joburg, how was the transition?
Well, I had already moved to Nelspruit. So, I mean, I haven't lived at home since I was 13, basically. So I think I was already accustomed to the idea of not being home and, yeah, I think the independence as well that came with that. So it wasn't too much of a stretch. I was already 3 hours away from home and needed to be quite independent there as well. Not a lot of adjustments. I think most of the adjustments was the actual varsity work, which was obviously different from high school.
Yeah.
I think in high school you can pretty much get away with like good memory.
True.
Like if you have a good memory, you just need to remember what are the 5 functions of the heart.
Yeah.
Then you get to varsity and they're asking you, now that you know the 5 functions of the heart, tell us what's the relevance of each function. And then I think that becomes a bit more tricky. So the academic part for me was more tricky. I think that was the first time I also came across failure, which obviously it was a bit hard to grapple with, I think, because for a large part, I think my identity was very linked to my
academic
performance. So to have that sort of go downhill, it leads to a lot of existential woes.
Talking about academics, did you know you wanted to be a psychologist?
So 2 weeks before I came to VIT, actually, I had initially applied for computer science. So I'd done IT in high school and I thought I just wanted to be a programmer. That's my life. 2 weeks before I came to varsity, I just found myself sitting thinking, do I see myself sitting at like 4 a.m. trying to make a program run? No, that is not going to be my future. So then I tried to call the varsity to see if I could swap. Unfortunately, I couldn't, but I could still sort of change my Bachelor of Science in a way that allowed me to take psychology. So that's what I ended up doing.
So it wasn't like love at first sight?
Not really. But I think, I mean, obviously because of exposure and my awareness of the profession at the time, I wasn't really inclined to seeking it out. But I think the more I knew about it, the more it felt like a perfect fit. And surprisingly, when I told people that, okay, now I'm going this route, it sort of clicked to people that, oh, actually, we did wonder what you were doing on the other side. This seems more fitting. But I think I've learned even now, though, that it's not really a calling. It's a job, like any other job that you should leave at work. Because I think generally with healthcare, it's so easy to ascribe it to a calling and a higher purpose. And obviously, because you are helping people, there is a higher purpose. But it's also very important to be able to cut off and say, this is a job. I'm using skills. I'm not reading people's minds. I'm using a skill set that I've learned.
That's a misconception we all have.
Exactly.
I'm like, can you tell me my future? Can you tell me what I'm thinking actually?
No. So I'm using a skill set to help you reach your goals, to help you understand yourself better. There's science behind it. There's theories behind it. It's not an intrinsic sort of innate thing that I was born with. It's something I'm trained to do. And so when I leave as well, when I go home, it's very important for me to leave my work at work. Which is easier said than done, obviously, because of the kind of work, but it's very necessary.
I'm a teacher and I get hurt every time when a child is not performing well. Like, what did I do wrong?
Personal.
This is personal. Is it reflecting on me? Take me back to your first client. How was that?
That's actually so interesting. So here I am doing masters. I think my first client actually left me after a couple of sessions. What was written in the email was, I need to find, she was going to find someone who was more experienced. But obviously in the email, it was quite cold, a bit colder than how
your first professional breakup.
Yes. She said she was leaving me for someone with more experience. So obviously painful because you bring your best, even with the little knowledge or experience that I had at that time.
Yeah.
I'll still bring my best.
Yeah.
And because I am the medium through which I do my job, it's also very hard to not take certain things personally.
True.
But I'm not oblivious to the fact that there are certain things that will make someone relate with you better, which makes things easier for them to disclose. Which is the same even with like interracial relationships, clients, professional relationships, age-wise as well, whether you have children, whether you don't, whether you're married, whether you don't, all of those variables play a part. So I'm not like oblivious to the fact that someone may want someone who's older, someone may want someone who's a male, someone may want someone who does have children, because it will help them better respond to the professional. So I get it. Now I get it. Back then it hurts. Like, give me a chance. I can do this. I can help you.
I love that. It's such a higher level of maturity that's hard to reach. For you to say, I may be good at this, but I'm just not the perfect match.
Oh, definitely. But I mean, obviously, there's still a tint of like a sort of injury that can occur. But I know even for myself, I have seen like I had a white therapist who I really liked. But personally, also when I look for a therapist, I do look for a Black therapist. And do mind ages as well. Not too finicky, but there are certain things that I consider myself when I'm looking for a therapist. So it would only make sense that other people do that as well.
Right. Today we want to talk about healing. You know, I almost asked you, have you healed from your breakup now? You know, your professional breakup. Are you okay?
I'm okay. Thank you. I hope she's okay as well.
You hope. Are you okay? We hope you're okay. What is healing? What do psychologists define as healing?
I think, when you speak about healing in general, I think just from a medical perspective, because this is also forming part of healthcare, it's recovery or getting back to a state of health. So the same way a physical injury would heal is that you would move from having a particular injury or wound to a state where the wound is no longer impairing your functioning, or the wound, some wounds are always visible, just as we know in our bodies as well. A lot of us have scars from tripping and falling when we were kids. So it's not necessarily the absence of the wound, but how it impacts your functionality, right? So your leg can now move properly without pain. That means it has healed, even though there's still signs that something happened. So it's sort of getting back to a state of health. That's what you would
just like the physical injury. Are there easier traumas or pains to heal from, and others are harder?
No, I think this is why certain people feel ashamed to even bring up certain things with like family members, right? So you would think, okay, if someone passed away 3 years ago, should I still be crying about the death? If I broke up with someone who I really thought was the love of my life, but we were only dating for 1 month, how torn up can I seriously be about that relationship? So I think for me, trauma and healing is quite subjective. And that's why, as an individual, you need to be very authentic and honor whatever experience and emotions are evoked from whatever experience, because we can't do the comparative game. So yes, someone else was assaulted and robbed and whatever, but your parents neglected you. And maybe they didn't neglect you in the sense that you always had food and clothes, but you never had someone to run to if you needed a hug or you needed comfort. That to you is trauma and should suffice as trauma without needing to compare it to whatever bigger things may have happened to someone else. So I definitely don't think there's a comparison game. What happens is that obviously your trauma will like latch on to personal insecurities, personal experiences that may either make something worse for you or better for you. But that doesn't mean that it should be nullified or dismissed. Right?
What are the common dismissals that you believe people experience from, like you said, family, when you're communicating a certain trauma, a certain hurt, a certain pain, maybe that you have experienced as clients, like children? What do you believe they struggle the most with and it's dismissed by their parents?
So there's obviously the personal aspect. There are certain personalities that may find it harder to burden people, right? There are certain people who are more self-reliant and self-sufficient, who do like solving their own problems by themselves. So may find that they equate asking for help as burdening someone automatically. So there could be that personal reluctance to reach out for help or to tell someone that you're going through something. But on the flip side, with the people that you're disclosing to, there are like common dismissals like, oh, you should be over that by now.
Eish.
How can we still be talking about this? I think for children in particular, what a lot of adults miss, parents, grandparents alike, is that they think because you're a child, how much have you truly understood about what happened?
Eish.
So therefore you couldn't really be grieving that much because you're just 5.
Yeah.
So when you say you miss your mom, or when you say you're having dreams about your mom, or you're crying, to them they're thinking, oh, but you're 5.
Yeah.
How much do you understand about death? You know? So I think there are those dismissals of time has passed and other people may have gotten over it, or life has just moved on and people aren't where you are. So there are those dismissals of you should be over it by now. Time has passed. How much really did you understand? That comes from family members or friends even.
Hectic. Yeah. I can only imagine. That is so real because I know many parents who like, but yeah, you don't remember her. Like you were very young. It doesn't make any sense. Do you think there are any situations that we take lightly as people in general, it doesn't matter what age, that we feel like, there's no need for me to heal from this? That affect us later on probably.
So, I mean, there are things that I do think we dismiss and we avoid. But what normally happens is that if there is something that you do need to address, you will be confronted with it at some point in your life. No matter how hard you try to run away from it, things do have a tendency of just cropping and peeping up here and there to teach you certain things about yourself, to help you integrate your life's experiences as well. So I don't think it's something that we can consciously control. I think if there is something you need to heal from, it will come at you. At some point in your life, you will be presented with some trigger that allows you to backtrack and to introspect and to examine whatever you need to.
Yeah.
So avoidance and dismissal can only take you this far.
Ish. It will come up.
It will, no, definitely. I think that's the life cycle. It will present itself because it's for your growth.
True. I can say that for myself too. For the longest time, I thought I healed from my traumatic experiences up until I stayed alone and I realized, okay, I think I have just been not feeling the hurt or the pain because I was always around people. But now I'm alone, I get to think a lot. So the fear comes more on this might happen again because there's no one surrounding me who I think for the longest time I used as a hedge of protection.
And that's what happened during COVID, right? During the pandemic.
Yeah.
If you had used work, if you're using social engagements, friends, gym, whatever the case might be, to distract you and to keep you busy and away from certain things. As soon as there was silence and there was solitude, the things that needed to come up surfaced. The things that most probably had been brewing over just close to the exterior a bit, then came to the surface, because now you could be still enough to listen and to understand and ask the relevant questions.
That's why many relationships didn't work, because things were raw now. You know, we don't have any other distractions. It's just...
Now I'm looking at you and I'm like, no, never mind. Never mind.
In fact, how did we get here? Exactly. What are the first steps to healing?
So acknowledgement, firstly. Obviously, you can't heal from something you don't necessarily think is a trauma or is a problem. So the awareness that this hurt me, this has brought me pain, or this was not how I wanted things to be, right? So that honesty with yourself first, because I think, sometimes, depending on who you are and your personality type, sometimes we sort of want to vet and justify emotions before we allow them to be. So if you have gotten to a point where you're like, but I don't really have reasons to be anxious. Why am I anxious? So therefore, I won't allow myself to think about this anxiety. But once you've moved past this point and you can understand, okay, currently I'm anxious. Yes, I might not have a rational reason to unpack my anxiety, but I am anxious and I am aware of that. So I think the awareness, firstly, then being honest about what is needed to help you get to that state of health again. So sure, there are some things that we, out of our own sheer willpower, can sort of like soldier through. And then there are moments and experiences where you should be able to reason with yourself and say, okay, here I need help and I need assistance. So I definitely think if you are honest with yourself about, right now, I just need to change some things in my routine. I just need to be alone for a bit. Maybe I just need to go home and get a hug from my mom and then I'll be fine. Versus I need to either seek professional help, I need to have a friend come live with me, or I need to go live with someone else. I really can't be trusted to be alone currently. So you need to be honest with yourself with what that might be. And then I think the last thing would be to show yourself grace. I think healing is not linear, right? It's not, I start here, I'm going to end there, right? It's a cycle. Some things may keep on recycling as and when is needed for your growth, right? So even if you say, I've dealt with this, so I should be fine, I don't want to remember it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to feel anything with regards to it. And some days it might be like that, but you may have days where you see something, you smell something, you remember something that just hurts you. Right? So I think it's about showing yourself grace even on those days. That this doesn't nullify the 10 years of healing that I've done. No, it just means there's something here now that I need to look at that might be important for my growth. So I think those 3 things would be quite impactful.
Is it possible for me to want to heal but not know what I need in order for me to heal?
Yes, I mean, it is to some extent. I think depending on your own insights into yourself, your internal states and your life, and even what you want for your life, it can be hard sometimes to just pinpoint this is what is needed, or even this is how I feel about this. It's not abnormal, but obviously it does take training. And if this is training you didn't receive even from a young age, it may take a bit longer to break those cycles and to not go back to your default when you're older. But it's definitely possible. I think even with people who do want to heal but self-sabotage the healing, that there are so many things, so many coping mechanisms that we that would develop as part of our characters and personalities that are very hard to let go of.
True.
I think even in therapy, as therapists, when we start therapy, you realize that I'm not going to sit with you and tell you that, okay, listen, you can't laugh about every bad thing that happens to you.
Yeah.
Or I can't just sit with you and break down all of your coping mechanisms in one go, because you would be completely unhinged, right? It's about slowly realizing that when I was 10, maybe I did need to be very self-reliant because there was no one else that was there for me.
Yeah.
There was no one who was going to do certain things for me. I needed to be by myself. I needed to have that self-reliance. But now I'm 25. I have very good friends. I have a partner who loves me and adores me. And all of these people around me are trying to say, hey, share a bit of your struggles with us. We're here. You can lean on us. And you refuse to do so because what you learned when you were 10 is that you only have yourself in this world. So it's about learning that, okay, when I was 10, I needed this. But now as a 25-year-old, I can actually let go of this self-reliance slowly and ease into the people who are around me who are saying, jump, I'll catch you.
Wow, love that. And now to the very important question. I cannot forget this question. And this is because I wonder, for me, is there a point where I can say I'm totally healed from whatever things I've been through in the past, and I am never going to be hurt or triggered by this anymore?
So I think you heal in stages. So maybe I would say maybe there are like developmental stages of healing, right? Depending on how much you've processed something. I think there may be instances where you get to a point where regardless of what happens, whoever is in front of you, this thing does not shake you, it does not move you, it does not affect you. But there may be certain instances where even 25 years from now, something with a similar pattern, right, could still evoke certain feelings from you. And I think the important thing to realize about that is that feelings or experiences, right, there's an experience, but there's also meaning and a story that you form around that experience. That is what you're normally healing from, right?
Okay.
So if you have a 5-year-old girl who is sexually assaulted and she is one of 4 sisters, right? But she's the only one who's sexually assaulted. She may grow up thinking that there's something intrinsically ugly about her that means she will forever be singled out for badness, right? That there's something about her where good things don't really happen to her. So that's a core belief she holds. Now, in a relationship where with a partner who doesn't really prioritize her or who also makes her feel like you're not important, you're not valuable, right? It triggers that feeling of the perpetrator when she was 5. It's a different experience, but what she needs to heal from and may continuously need to heal from is the meaning that she walked away from that experience. So that's why it's a bit more nuanced than saying, okay, time frame cap, 5 years, done, close this chapter, move on. It's because it's more so about what you walk away from, or walk away with the experience. Sorry, my prepositions are like missing there. So it's about what you walk away with from the experience as well. If you walk away thinking, I'm not valuable, I'm not loved, any experience that makes you feel unlovable or not valued will evoke the same level of pain from you. But now it's different. This could be a colleague at work. This could be an ugly divorce. So it's not your dad anymore. It's not your mom anymore. You may have healed from the pain that your mom caused you, but the core beliefs that you hold about yourself may forever be re-triggered in different circumstances and contexts. So there's not really a time frame. as well, which is why I was saying we need to show ourselves grace.
Nah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. And talking about grace, I personally love how your journals gives us that. I know that there is one journal that really worked out for my friend, the grief journal, because she lost her mom. And as we were preparing for the funeral for the mom, no, in fact, when we were burying the mom, later that evening, after having buried the mom, the grandfather passed away. So this Sunday she was burying the mom, next Sunday she was burying the grandfather, and that was a lot, to handle. Just as we come into a close, I want us to briefly speak about Journal Q, what Journal Q is, and what you hope to achieve through these journals.
So Journal Q was also my COVID pandemic
Savior.
Yes. I think at the time I was also looking at my breath and my impact throughout my career. Because I deal with so much hurt and pain, I honestly see people at their most vulnerable, and I can only work as me, right? Physically. I can work with you when I'm with you. And I think at that time I was wondering how can I possibly have more impact? Because we do know, if you look at the stats in South Africa, I think it's like one psychologist for every 18 patients.
Yeah.
So that already means there's a lot of people that may or may not be seen. And statistically, 1 in 3 South Africans in their lifetimes will struggle with the mental health and with the mental illness at some point in their lives. So then I wondered to myself, is this degree actually useful? How can I make my degree useful? Because I do think there's certain things that I've learned at school that have made my life better and my relationships more meaningful. So I did wonder, how can I spread that impact? How can I bridge that gap? And Journal Q was my answer for that. I think a lot of people at the time were already journaling themselves. They were a bit stuck with sort of knowing, am I doing this right? What should I be doing? What should it be evoking? So I thought, what if you had a journal that was like a psychologist walking you through a particular experience? When you are having that panic attack and you have a psychologist debriefing you through an exercise in the anxiety journal, whether you're going through grief and you want a psychologist to work you through surviving that grief so that you're not paralyzed by it and can actually make meaning from it and walk away, obviously, not unscathed, because loss is quite traumatic, but to walk away with as much healing as possible. So that's how Journal Q came across. So I'm happy that your friend was actually also helped. It's surprising our grief journal has done the best, actually. I've also had a friend of mine say that it was her lifeline on her worst days, the days where she really missed the person she had lost. Then on those days, the journal was really like a stronghold.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that it has had that impact.
It's doing absolutely amazing. And I know that you recently relaunched and you are adding more things. What can we expect from Journal Q?
So we're currently working on I'm not sure how specific I can be.
But we briefly want to surprise them.
We're working on something for relationships now. And then I think we're also bringing in our older journals with updates. So obviously throughout the years, we've also been receiving feedback about, okay, I would have liked this more in this journal, or this really helped me, please do this more. So we're also doing updates with the feedback in mind. And then, we're also introducing a number of things that I think will help build the community aspects of it. Because I think we all know post 25, it's very hard to make friends. It's very hard to also make friends who are like-minded, who do want to think about certain things in a deep way. So you have that community here, and I think what we're trying to do now is harness the connection in that community so that you're not alone, and you're not, so that you also know that you're not dealing with all of these things by yourself.
Love that. For the last question, what would you say to the 19-year-old Wits student, Asa?
I'd say relax. Relax. I think I have struggled a lot with anxiety as well. And what I've realized is that anxiety generally makes you feel like time is not for you, right? So everything needs to happen now or else it will never happen. I need to finish all of this now. I need to achieve I need to achieve all of this now. And you panic, but I'm just like, there's so much life. Well, as much as life is permitted, but there's so much life to be had. You don't have to do it now. So I think that's what I would definitely say to myself, like, relax, enjoy life.
One day at a time.
Yes, live, see
experience.
things, fail, make mistakes. Just relax. Relax. You don't need to be perfect.
Beautiful. You heard me, guys. Relax. Especially for certain personalities, it's very hard. Cholerics, relaxing.
You need a plan to relax.
Exactly.
Guide.
Asa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally did this.
Yes. And I'm hoping it's not the last time.
I doubt it.
I really hope so, because you're an absolute please. I had a great time, and I just want to say, goodness, I've seen your journey in Journal Q, and it has encouraged me to write. Like, I write. I may have not bought a Journal Q journal, but I now write, and that's because of that. I watch your lives.
Thank you.
So really, really appreciate it, especially as a speaker. That's one quality that one, I think, needs to invest in. You can't forever be pouring from an empty cup. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll bring you one next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It has been lovely, and as always, absolutely informing, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. Until next time, take care and God bless. Bye-bye.